So Andy, let's start from the very beginning then. I mean, what were you doing before Alamac happened and where did it come from?
I left school at 16 as a tea boy. My dad was a bookmaker and he was pretty clear that I wasn't going to join his business. But my dad was an entrepreneur and my dad's dad before him was an entrepreneur. In my 30s I started to look at people and take things from certain people and understand what they did and what did they do well. At 38 I left the bank and I joined this very small management consultancy in health, which was a very, very formative, very important part of my life because first of all that company supported me. But I thought then that I needed to understand what the customer was like, what they really felt, and view it from the customer's side of the fence. So I joined the NHS and actually had probably one of the best years ever because all I did was I spent time in theatre, looking at all sorts of operations and seeing how surgeons and their surgical teams worked together. The amazing amount of dedication they had, the amazing amount of professionalism they had. And also you just observe some of the problems that they had, most of which weren't necessarily their own doing because they're just focused on the patient. I started to get to a place where I thought, well, I'm learning now what the NHS, I think, wanted or wants from some support. And I was sat probably 3 years ago now in my dad's front room and he said, well, why don't you think about starting a business? By almost definition, I can't do it by myself. So I needed to find somebody who could basically take Andy McGrath from Andy McGrath and make Andy McGrath into Alamac. And yeah, I was introduced to this fellow called Jeremy Brown. And we chatted for about a year. We sat in an office and I said, what would you do if you were running Alamac?
So Jeremy, what was it that you saw in Alamac that made you want to take that leap and join in?
The principle of what Andy was doing, I understood, and it was sound and it worked. So it had an output. But the idea of getting people to pull in the same direction by looking at the same information rather than working in silos isn't only effective, it changes people's language and behaviour. So it was a very rewarding thing to do. And the idea of taking this very sound principle and methodology with a good output and trying to build a team who could do that was a very rewarding opportunity, and that's how it seemed. And that's how it's turned out to be.
So let's talk about building a team then. How did you go about starting to do that? Where do you start to look?
The greatest lesson I learnt was that people buy from people they like. Is how do we find people who share a skill set, a value set, clearly clever, clearly great integrity, but people who our partners would say, yeah, I like this person and they're adding some value to me.
And what's it like when the team all come together?
I mean, first of all, it's a unique experience for me. It's a privilege and a wonderful sort of bizarre thing to have all these wonderful people who have come together to be part of your company, of our company. And that is wonderful. We want to engender a culture where people are equal. Whatever your experience or skills have been, we want everybody to feel as though they can talk equally with each other.
It seems to me there's a strong sense of relationships coming through in all of this. I mean, it almost sounds like more of a family than an organisation. Is that how it feels?
You want to create an Alamac family, so you're right. And that enables people to have the freedom to say what they want to say. Talking about the values, we mustn't underestimate them. They absolutely underpin the type of people we're looking for.
And how exciting has it been seeing that team happen?
I remember when Andy first employed myself, he said, actually it feels very strange today. This was day one. The point was that he was now responsible for me as an employee, but also for my family. I've got 3 boys and a wife, and we now employ people who have their own families, and we need to look after them. And I remember an occasion not so long ago where one of our guys had a difficult situation, let me know on the Sunday. We texted out to the team. Every single one of the team had responded within a few minutes and let this guy know. And that's the environment that we want to create. That responsibility, as Andy said, can be a wonderful burden.
To be able to work with great people and to be with great people and to interact with great people, both our team and our clients, is just a huge privilege.